In this Map Suite MVC Edition sample app walkthrough, we're going to show you how you can move a feature on the map. So here we've got a basic application with the World Map Kit background, and as you can see we've got a green ellipse kind of hovering over Africa here. On the left we've got 4 different buttons that allow me to move that ellipse either left, to the right, or up and down. In each case it's moving it by approximately 2,000 kilometers. So this can be handy if you need to allow your users to move certain objects on the map, either via some buttons like this or other UI elements. So let's take a look at the code to see how you would implement this. Let's start down here where we're setting up the application. And this first section here is merely just adding the World Map Kit overlay and setting up the map, adding it to the page, and setting the current extent. So the next thing we do is we're creating an InMemoryFeatureLayer. This is what's going to hold our green ellipse. And we're setting the style that we want and applying that for all 20 zoom levels. Here's where we're actually creating the ellipse with this line of code and giving it an ID of multi-point shape. And we're going to add that ellipse to our InMemoryFeatureLayer, add an InMemoryFeatureLayer to our map, and then render that out to the page accordingly. So the next part I want to look at is what happens when we click those buttons, either up, left, right, down, to move the feature. In each one of them you can see we're actually doing an AJAX callback through the AJAX call action method, and we're telling it what controller we want, and we're going to call the move method up on the server, and then we're going to pass in what direction the user clicks. In this case up, but as you can see by the other buttons there's left, right, and down. Once we get a response back from the server, we're going to call this callback, which is a JavaScript routine that's just simply going to redraw that InMemoryFeatureLayer and update the location of our ellipse that we moved on the server side. So let's go look at the server side code here through the controller source. And here's that move method we saw earlier. And the first thing we're going to do is get our parameter string passed in and see what direction the user actually clicked or which button they clicked on. So if it's right, left, up, or down, you can see we've got different values for which way we're going to offset it. And for this case we're using kilometers, and I'll show you where that's defined, what distance unit, here in a second. So we're calling this translate by offset method, which is down here. And the first thing we do is get a reference to our InMemoryFeatureLayer that we built up that has our green ellipse. We open it. Then we're going to use the edit tools, which are very powerful for any time you're updating feature information. And we're going to go ahead and begin a transaction, and that's important in case there's some error that occurs when we're making this change. We can always roll back. So it's always good to put your changes inside of transactions so they're atomic and you can roll them back accordingly if there's some sort of problem. The next part we're doing is we're actually moving the feature. So this is the bulk of what we're wanting to display in this sample. And we're using the translate by offset method. And so the translate by offset method, you just need to pass in the ID of your feature you want to offset, the new offset, the X and Y here, which as you can see is been passed in from above, 2000 or 0. We're going to move it depending on which direction the user picked. And then the unit of our data, and then the distance that we want it to be, that our offset is measured in. So in the case here, we're offsetting it by 2,000 kilometers. So if you want to do miles or meters or anything, it's as easy as changing that enumeration. Finally, we're going to go ahead and commit the transaction. And one thing this sample app doesn't show that you may be aware of is this actually returns a transaction result that you can analyze to see if it succeeded or failed. So if you did have a try catch or something, you'd want to get that and see if it did fail, roll back so the movement didn't happen. And we're going to close the InMemoryFeatureLayer and redraw that overlay so it represents the new location. So that's basically it. You can see how easy it is to move the feature around and give your users some extra control on how to do that. I hope this sample app walkthrough has been helpful. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us, or you can post them directly on our discussion forums at ThinkGeo.com/forums. Thank you for watching.